The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Been a very long time since I've done one of these. Cool. Let's kick off with the usual sound checks. Can you hear my voice okay? Can you see the screen? You should be able to see Convertery open on a funnel called July 2021. Okay, hello Avi, hello Detlev, hello Brian. Lovely to see you all here. Hello Sean. Oh, hello Harry. Harry's joining us from Virginia. Where is everyone from today? What have we got in terms of like around the world? Okay, we've got people from Bonn, from Wales, from Ottawa, sunny Surrey. Yeah, it's actually sunny here as well. The clouds don't quite stretch that far. And from Lyon. Yeah, we are all over the world. So always find it amazing doing these, just talking to like everyone all over the planet. So I don't know, it's a mix of I guess exciting and terrifying. Okay, so quickly, I imagine like most of you here know who I am already. Just for anyone who doesn't, I'm Neil. I'm one of the co-founders of Convertery. If you go to our About Us page, here's one I prepared earlier. So convertery.com/about, that is me there, now with my dearly departed red hat. I've got a blue one now. It's a bit smarter. So today's going to be, it's a different webinar to the kind of stuff that we've run in the past. A lot of what we've done have been about, like we've done a lot of the getting started webinar. We've run plenty on like individual topics. What I'm doing on this one is like a roundup of like where Convertery is and where we're going. So if I just see if I can work out how to switch GoToWebinar over. So what I'm going to be talking about today is, let's say, where we are, where we're going, and why we're going there. Like what is happening with Convertery as an app, as a company, and basically what's led to that. So in terms of where we are, I'm going to run through all our like recently released features. We've added some stuff recently, which I think is really quite cool. Like we've added the debug options to help you work out like what's causing problems on your pages, if things are causing problems there. We've added some new mobile options to help you like do the mobile conversion that bit easier. And we've also added like probably my favorite feature of the last few weeks. So we've added the element tree. This is something which has been like a long time coming. Honestly, people were asking us for it for quite some time. We really should have had it earlier. But we have built it now. It's in there, and it's got some features in there which I really quite like. And I'm going to show all this stuff to you in the next few minutes. In terms of where we're going, I'm going to give you a quick look at some of the new stuff we're working on. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that we've got in active development. So, hopefully, always a bit of caveat when we're talking about dev stuff. We never really know how long it's going to take to deliver. Long-time users here will know that often, we're like, yeah, we're totally going to release it next week, and then it turns out it's a month away because there's just something in there that caused problems we didn't know were there yet. But this is the stuff we are actively working on at the moment. I'm going to run you through that, and so that is what you can hopefully expect to see relatively soon. Hey Joel, good to see you. And then after that, I'll talk about basically why we're going there. Like after I've talked about like why we're like pushing Convertery in this direction, I'm going to talk about like why we're going there in the first place. You might remember a few weeks ago we ran a user survey just to get a check, like just a few questions out to everyone who had an active account, just basically asking like how are we doing? Like are we like what's good, what's bad? Like what are we doing well, what are we not? And so I'm going to run through the results of that and what we're going to do about it. And then after that, I will hang around for a general like Q&A session, just like we generally do on webinars like this. Basically, I'm happy to hang around until my voice runs out, or like until you run out of questions, whatever happens first. And I'm happy to answer like anything about Convertri, whether it's like about the stuff you've just seen, or like something else, like something we haven't like covered at that point yet. You are more than welcome to add questions in the chat. I'll be keeping half an eye on it on the way through. Just so you know, I'm going to, if you've got a question like about like what you're actually seeing on the screen, like if you want me to like demonstrate like a feature again or go into a bit more detail on any part, then I'll keep an eye on the chat. I will try and deal with those like at the time. Any questions which aren't related like to the presentation at the time, if it's just like a general question about Convertri, if you just leave those until the Q&A session at the end, just so we don't get too off track. But I will try and get through all of them. Okay, does anyone have any questions before we get started? It's just okay, that looks like we're good. So let's dive in. So in this bit, like I say, I'm going to go through some of the most recent features that we've added into the app. Some of these you might have spotted already, some of them you might not. Either way, I hope you'll find them very useful. So what the first feature I want to talk about is this little menu up here with the little bug icon. This is our new debug menu. And when you click on this, you have the option of whether or not to include the following items on your page. You can include the custom scripts, the custom CSS, and the custom HTML. And you can choose whether or not these items are included like on your publish page. And you might be wondering why would I ever turn this off? You know, clearly if I've added a custom script to my page, like I want it to run, that's why it's there. And generally that is absolutely true. But one of the things that you might have run into is that frequently you might find that when you publish a page, like maybe it doesn't look quite like it does on the editor. Maybe something isn't working quite properly. And a lot of the time when this happens, you send an email into support. Support has a look at the page, and what support says is that it's this custom script you've got on the page that's causing a clash with something, or it's this bit of custom code that you're using. And like that's going to happen sometimes. That's fine. But we think it would be an awful lot easier and an awful lot quicker, basically, if you could check this for yourself. Like, so you don't have to you don't have to email into support. You don't have to wait for support to have a look just for them to tell you, oh, it's this thing here you need to take out. When that's really like it's a 30-second fix when you know what's going on. So this is why we have added the debug menu. So if something isn't working properly and you think it might be to do with the custom script, you can just switch off the custom script. You can republish your page, and you can see if that fixes it. If it fixes it, like you know that one of those scripts was causing a problem. Same is true with the custom CSS and the custom HTML. So just so you can see how that works, if we just throw on a custom HTML element on the page, and let's we'll do something very basic here. So we now have a little hello world in that box. If we switch custom HTML elements off, you can still see it in the editor because the element still exists. But if we published or if we hit preview, then we can see that's not been included on the page. So if that was causing a bug and the bug was fixed by this, you would know that that element was causing the issue. We've also added some extra layers in this, so you can do it individually, like not just within these groups. We have also added toggles here so that you can choose whether or not any individual script is included on the page. So if you're not sure which particular script is causing the problem, you can switch them off one by one, republish, and see if that fixes the issue. If it does, you know that script was the problem, and you don't have to wait for support to dig into it for you. So that's the first feature that we've gone through, and that's something that, obviously, this is one of the things that, I hope you don't have to use. I hope your pages always work absolutely fine. But when they break, because it's going to happen sometimes, especially if you are adding custom scripts and custom code, then when that happens, you should be able to fix it an awful lot faster. And obviously, if that doesn't work, you can still get in touch with support. Support will still look at it for you. But this will let you sort out most of the problems without having to worry about that. Hello, Dimitri. Good to see you. So the next features I'm going to look at are based around mobile. So we've added a couple of little features to make mobile just that little bit easier to use. Now, this is an area you want to do a bit more work in. That's something that I'll be coming on to later. But there's a couple of little features in there right now. So if we go onto our mobile page, you see this is just an automatic mobilization. I haven't done any work on this, which is why you can see stuff like that. But the first option here is we have adjusted the delete option on the mobile editor. So now what it does, if you're in the mobile editor, it will hide the element rather than removing it entirely. So if we go back to the desktop, the video is still there. And in mobile, it's gone. And we can always switch it back on, go into desktop, just switch that back there, and it comes back. And the reason we added this is that something we found some users do, particularly if you're new to Convertery, you're not quite sure how the system works yet. They have gone into the mobile editor. They've decided that actually, I don't want this element to appear on the mobile view, so they hit the delete button, and they didn't realize that that's one of the things that's connected on mobile and desktop. The element itself exists on both. You can move it wherever you want, but the element is it's the same element on both modes. So they deleted it and were then surprised that it had vanished from the desktop view. And obviously, that wasn't what they thought would happen, wasn't what they expected to happen. And so we've adjusted that. So the automatic function is that it hides rather than deletes entirely, which is a bit more like what people tend to be looking for. But if you do want to delete it entirely, that is still an option. There is a little drop-down menu on the edge here, and you've got hide on mobile or just delete completely. And if you delete it completely, then it is just gone. Charles is asking, does it still load the element if it's only on desktop now and not on mobile? There's only there is only one element on the page for the most part. That's the that's what a lot of people don't quite get when they're doing this. Like there is only one video element. Like there's not two versions, like one for desktop and one for mobile. There's just a different set of CSS for both for those elements, depending on which view it is. So the element itself is still there, but it'll only show like the right version, depending on what view you're looking at. Another option we have with mobile, another new one, is you now have the option to just remove the mobile view entirely if you want. This is something that a few people asked for. They didn't want to do any mobile optimization. They didn't want to worry about that at all. They just wanted to show the desktop view on whatever system like people were viewing on. And so now you can do that. In the page settings up here, there is a new mobile option. And there is the option here to use the mobile page. Now, by default, it's always on. Like default, it just works like Convertri always has. But if you switch it off, now you can see rather than the mobile view being available, it's just showing like this is desktop only. If we publish this now, it would show the desktop view on any device. So it would, much like it works in tablets at the moment, it would take that desktop view, it would scale it to the size of the screen, and that is what your viewers would see. Now, for the most part, like if I was making pages, I would always want a mobile specific view. But that isn't always true for people. Something that we've discovered like time and time again when we've been developing Convertery is that the way we do things isn't the way everyone does things, and we want to make sure that you can always like deliver the kind of pages that you want. And some people would just prefer like to have like that desktop view available and not have to worry about mobile at all, or just be able to like put the desktop page up and like not worry about mobile for a bit. Like so they can they might deal with mobile, but they'll do that like in the future. Like for now, just having the desktop view is fine. And so with that option, that's what you can do. Avi's asking, can we only keep the mobile view and not display the desktop? We don't currently have that as an option. However, if you can, if you want, build rather than building a desktop page like this, you can just build effectively a mobile page in the desktop editor. If you scale it to, I think if you set the guidelines here to 320, I think that's the the mobile breakpoint. Then that will effectively be like a mobile page that will show on any device. Which guidelines? The guidelines in the display menu. You see the guideline width here is set at 960, which is the default. You can set these to whatever you want though. So like it could be a, no, not 1090. That's rather large. One day I'll learn to make sure I'm clicking in the right place when I hit the backspace key. There we go. So you can set the guidelines to whatever you want. Let's say the default is 960. You can make them wider, or you can make them considerably narrower. So that's the 320. And this is like these guidelines don't affect what's actually displayed in the editor. If we publish this, it would still look like a desktop page, but these will give you the bounds. Like if you design everything in that area, that will effectively be a mobile page, and that will then show on any desktop view as well as the mobile one. it'll still display on desktop. It'll just display in that narrow band rather than showing the desktop page. Like if all you want's the mobile page, then that's what you can do. Okay, one other quick little feature to look at before we have a look at the element tree. Saving what I think is the best till last. This feature came out just last week, I think. And again, this is something that people have asked about for some time. And this is like it's just a little feature, but it will make some people's lives a fair amount easier. And that is you can now finally reorder what order the products are shown when they're in a product group. So when you have a product group on a page, if you hit the open checkout button, it'll ask you like what product you want to display. And previously, Convertery would always do these alphabetically, which is like often not very smart because generally, like if you're selling like t-shirts as an example, you want like small, medium, large. Like you don't want large, medium, small, or you don't want like numbers to appear first, that kind of thing. So now Convertery will take them like in the order that they are in the group here. So this group would display product 1 and then product 2, but you can also reorder these. Like you can use these arrow keys to switch them around. So if I did that, it would now show product 2 first and then product 1. So it's a very simple change, but something that will make your checkouts, I think, make rather more sense. And again, honestly, something that we should have like had a feature in there for quite some time ago. So the biggest and probably my favorite feature that we've added in the past few weeks is the element tree. And this is something that's and something that people have asked for a while. And honestly, it was a bit of a struggle to get done, which is one of the reasons it took us so long to do it. But we've made it, we've got it in there, and I think it's a very useful thing for showing, like for building, for structuring your pages. So to access it, you click the display menu, and there is a new toggle down here for element tree, and you can flick that on. And this shows all the elements which are on the page. So at the moment, it's showing these top level elements. You can expand them to show the images inside. You can see we have this panel selected at the moment, so then you can select the logo, the text, and you can see that as you select these elements, they get selected in the editor. If we scroll down and find one there, it will automatically scroll like to the element that's been selected. So the panel itself will scroll, so you can see all the different options. But we've also made it so this panel can resize. So like dealing with horizontal scrolling is a bit of a pain. So we've made it so that panel can be a bit larger. So you don't have to do that. You'll see the icons here. So this one is for show or hide, or to start visible or hidden for the element. You can also choose whether or not it's shown on desktop and whether it's shown on mobile. So if we go to this video so you can see it a bit easier. So if we switch off show on desktop, it's no longer there. If we switch off the show on mobile, then you can hopefully see that the mobile indicator is grayed out. And when these are off, so when an element is like hidden on mobile, even if you don't have that selected, that will show in the list. So you can easily scroll down and see that if an element is hidden on mobile, then you can see that at a glance. Same as you can see if there's an element which is set to like start hidden, you can see that that's there just by scrolling down. And this is quite a useful way of debugging the page as well. If you're not sure why an element is like not showing when you load the page, like fairly frequently that happens because you've accidentally set it to start hidden, and that's that's something that can be quite hard to spot if you're just looking at the page itself. But if you've got the element tree open, then it's just there. It's obvious in the list, and you can switch it back on again. Dennis is asking if you can rename elements from within the element tree. You can't rename them within the element tree. That's quite a good idea, but we didn't think of it when we were making the element itself. One idea that was suggested by one of our feature testers is that the elements themselves, if you've given that element a name, that will show in the tree itself. So these images here, you can see these are the little social icons at the top. We can rename those. So that's the Twitter one. So let's call that Twitter, and that one Facebook, and that one Google Plus, because I'm sure someone still uses Google Plus. But you can see now we've renamed these in the properties panel. These will show up, like these names will show up in the element tree. So it's a lot easier to see what the what these elements are, like when you're just scrolling down. And obviously, like if you want, you can just like click and select if you want. But doing this makes that, I think that makes that quite a lot easier. But possibly my favorite part of the element tree is when you scroll over here, you'll see these two little arrows on the side, and this lets you swap the position with the next item up. And you'll be able to do this for any element on the same level. So you can see all of these elements are contained within this panel, so you can swap any of their positions. You can't swap, say, the video with this big red panel because they're on different levels, and Convertery doesn't really know what to do with them. But this is quite a useful feature, especially for doing things like rearranging templates. Like as an example, if we've got like this template here, because I mean this is just like a template that I've not really done anything to. Let's say we decide we want this section, like we want this section here with the report. We actually want this like directly below the video. Like we want to swap that with the benefits bit here. Now the way you'd have to do this before is you'd want to pick it up. You'd want to move the element around, and then move the red one down, which is possible, but it's hassle. With the element tree, if you click up, then it will just swap the sections. So that's now on top, and that's at the bottom. And you won't have had to do any like manual rearranging. Equally, if you decide you don't like that, you can just move it down again. And that I think is it's a very neat feature for rearranging the page. And it doesn't have to be just on these like large sections either, because like I say, it can be anything within within a panel. So if we look at these buttons down here, you can see these are two buttons set to the link mode, so they come up as link in the tree. So if we decide we want them the other way around, then we click on the little arrow and they get swapped. And that's just it's a far easier way, I think, to rearrange your page than it is to move things around manually. Now there are absolutely limitations to this. Like there's going to be if your page doesn't have like all the proper structure in it, then it is possible for the algorithm that does the element swapping to get a bit confused. So as an example, like in this section here, if we switch on the element outlines, then we can see how this bit of the page is constructed. So we've got these images in a line, we've got these text elements in a line, we've got these like dividers between them. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a colored background on this text element so you can see it moving easier on the page, because all of these look the same. So let's just give you like a gray background like that. So if, for example, like we were to swap the position on this element up here, like if we swapped it up, that's going to swap it with that text element, but it's not going to take the icon with it because they're not together. So you have to be careful of that kind of thing. Equally, if we swap, say, this image with the next one it finds in the list, which in this case, because of the way the algorithm works, like it's looking like from left to right, and because this one's a bit higher, it's picking that over there. Like if we swap that image when it doesn't have like a sensible swapping partner, then that's going to cause like some weirdnesses. And the easy way to like make sure this algorithm works like the way you think it does is exactly the same as making sure that the mobilization works the way you think it does, and that is to make sure your elements are properly contained. As an example, if we look at this section here, we have this book image here with the text on the side. If we swap this image with the text, it's just going to swap it with the next element below, which in this case is that free report heading. Now, what we'd really want is for it to swap the position of this and these two together. So the way we do that is if we add a container panel, again, exactly like mobile works. So we'll just stick that panel in there, we'll send that to the back, bring it forward so we know these are contained, and we'll just make that transparent. And now if we swap this element, they will all come with it. And that's a far better swap. That's far more like what we actually want. And again, we can just swap it back again. And that just makes lives like so much easier. Equally down here, as you see, it didn't work so well on this section up here because these elements aren't contained. Down here, you can see that these elements are contained. They've all got these backing panels. So when we swap them, it just works. It's a very simple way of rearranging. So that is the element tree. That is my favorite new feature of the past few weeks. I've already used it an awful lot when it comes to my pages. Very useful for templates as well. Like I think I find it more useful for templates than I do on the than on like pages that I've actually built. Because with templates, like you fairly often like want to just rearrange like sections a bit more wholesale. And this swapping system, like especially with the larger sections like this, it just makes life so much easier. Okay, do we have any questions on any of these features before we move on to the next part? Okay, Harry says it looks good. I think we're good to go on to the next section. And this next section is about like features which are currently in development. And I've got three features in particular that I want to talk about. Unfortunately, two of them I can't really show you anything, which is a bit of a it's possibly going to make for a bit of a boring presentation. I'll try and keep it interesting. But two of the first feature I want to talk about, one that we're currently developing, something that has been asked for quite a lot recently. A lot of you will know that like iOS 14 has caused some ad problems, especially with like Facebook ad attribution. And to combat this, Facebook have recently released something called the Conversion API, which is a way of basically making events via server side rather than in the browser. And obviously, we would like to support this. So this is one of the things we are currently working on. We're working on integration for this Facebook Conversion API. This is coming in a few stages. So first stage is an integration, or a more like direct integration for the pixel itself. And this is what you currently do just by adding the pixel as a Facebook script, or like as a custom script on your page, on your funnel. You will be able to add it like as a direct API integration. So you'll be able to tell Convertri, like you'll be able to connect it to your Facebook ad account. You'll be able to tell it which pixel you want to use, and then Convertri will automatically add that to your pages, and it will automatically fire. Certain events when like certain things happen. So this is going to be quite useful, I think, even without the Conversion API component, because it's going to mean you're not going to need to worry too much about like getting some coding in place to make sure the events fire. So we have events being built in for a lead. So when someone submits one of your forms, you'll automatically get a lead event fire, and that won't be on like if they've landed on the next page. So you're not going to get a lead event fire if someone just happened to turn up on your thank you page without going through the form. It will be connected to the form submission. So when someone submits that form, you will get a lead event appear in Facebook. There'll also be one for the purchase event. So when someone buys one of your products, you'll get the purchase event automatically fired. And there will also be an event for the initiate checkout. So when someone hits the open checkout button to open the modal checkout, that will automatically fire that initiate checkout event. And you'll be able to use that to record and optimize on your ads. That bit has been coded. That is on the test server at the moment. So it's currently going through testing and will be released like in the fairly near future. And what is currently being coded is having these things happen with the Conversion API rather than the pixel. And doing that will help basically it will help avoid the roadblocks that Apple have put in place with iOS 14, and will make your ad tracking like through Facebook just a lot more reliable, a lot easier when you're using Convertri pages. Charles is asking, will you need to have the checkout on Convertri for it to work? For the purchase, for the initiate checkout, yes, because that's specifically tied to our modal checkout. Again, the purchase event is tied to the Convertri cart because that happens like in that cart itself. Like the purchase event happens in the cart platform. We would need to access the cart's system in order to be able to do that kind of integration, and like for obvious reasons, like they generally don't let us do that. So for the cart systems that you use, like whether you're using like Thrivecart or Snipcart or something like that, those like the purchase events in that case would depend on what they've put in place. I believe Thrivecart has the purchase events firing. I'm not sure about some of the other platforms, but like this is obviously quite big news. Like I know a lot of people are working on this at the moment, so if your cart platform isn't doing it at the moment, like they probably will be pretty soon. The lead events are just based on form submissions. So you'll get a lead event like whenever a Convertri form is submitted. Just have a swig of water. So like I was saying, the pixel integration is currently on the test server, so that is done, and we are like just making sure there aren't any bugs before it like gets pushed out. The conversion API is being, or that integration is being actively developed at the moment, so that should hopefully be following fairly shortly. There is a bit of a there's even more of like uncertainty in this case than there is normally, because like with dev work, because Facebook have to approve our integration before like they'll let it work, like before it goes live, and we don't know what that kind of process looks like. Like it's possible Facebook will just get it on their desk and they'll rubber stamp it the same day and it'll all be fine. More likely they're going to need to check it. It's going to need to take that will take a little while to get through their system. But from our point of view, we are most of the way there. So again, hopefully that will be coming out relatively soon. The second feature I want to talk about is something we've been working on this for absolutely ages, and it's weird because it doesn't sound like this should be a hard problem. You'll be amazed how hard it actually is, and this is multi-page publish. So being able to publish multiple pages at once. In this case, the way we are doing this is we are going to be adding a button like somewhere around here that will let you publish an entire funnel at once. So if you've updated a script, if you've updated a shared header, you can just push the like publish funnel button and it will republish all of the pages like in that funnel. So you don't have to do them one by one anymore. And this has really been a mission because it's involved like basically reworking the entire publishing system on the back end to make it suitable for this. It's and like Andy has tried explaining this to me several times, and I've got to admit I go cross-eyed an awful lot. But the short version is like it feels like this should be a simple thing because like we've already got publish. You know, it feels like we should just be able to like do that multiple times. And that was like honestly, that was basically what I said to Andy when I first like talked about this feature. Like surely this will be easy. And he kind of gave me that look. Like if you've ever seen a developer giving you that look, you'll know what I mean. And he's like, okay, yes, we could do it like that. And that means but if we do it like that, like about 3 times a day, the app's just going to crash because like it's putting that much load on the server with people doing it. And that didn't really sound like a great plan. So we've elected to not do it the easy way. We're doing it the secure way or the stable way. And the way that will give you like this ability to publish, like should be as many pages as you want, like within this funnel, without worrying about it taking the app down for everyone, because that would kind of suck. We have done a lot of the groundwork for this at the moment. We are hoping this is going to come out in the next month. Like I know I always say this, but the usual caveats apply. Like there's always some amount of uncertainty in dev work. Possibly there's some like gnarly, ugly bits we've got to code that we don't realize yet. But at the moment, we are hoping that by this time next month, I'll be showing you the shiny multi-publish button rather than just talking about it as something we're doing. It would indeed kind of suck. That's why we didn't go the easy way. And I hope you'll forgive us for it not being there quite soon. So the final feature I want to show you, and this is something I am actually going to show you because this is something which is on the test server at the moment. And this is again something that we've been working on for a little while. At the moment, this is a very early stage of what we see the feature being. I'm expecting this to this very early beta. I'm expecting this to go out to feature testers in probably next week, like maybe the week after, but probably next week. So if you are a feature tester, this will arrive in your account then, and we'll send a survey around, asking a couple of questions about how it works, what else you'd like to see it doing, all the usual kind of stuff. We did exactly the same thing for the element tree. We got some brilliant suggestions on that, which got incorporated and made the feature, I think, an awful lot better. And we will be doing the same here. And what we have here is we have a brand new form widget. So at the moment, like you're probably familiar with how forms get built in Convertri. Like you drag on your fields, you drag on your button. In fact, you don't drag on your button. Apparently, you just dragged on another field. So this is why I need a widget. Drag on your button. You align things, like maybe you put a text box at the top. Something like this, and then you're probably going to want like a backing panel. So something like that. And I mean, you know how this works, and it's fine, but we think it can be easier. And so what we're doing is like adding a widget which will let you do this a lot easier. So we'll just get rid of that. And so that is this new form widget feature. And you see it, we've got the default here, like it's got you can add your fields. In this beta, all we've got is like the text and the multi-line fields. But I'm hoping that eventually we'll have like checkboxes, radio buttons, so on will be in there as well. You can assign the field types, exactly the same list that's in the main properties panel at the moment. You can also set it to pre-fill from the query string parameters. Like all the options you've got, like when you're building the current forms, you should have available here. So adjust the placeholder text, set as required. Same with the first name. On the button settings itself, you can change the label. You don't have to include the button if you don't want to. Like you can use this widget to have the form fields and then put the button somewhere else if you want a bit more customization over that. Here we'll put that in. And this will give you this pre-built widget. In the widget itself, like these are the default styles that get set. But you can change these, like you can change the heading style to something like Alpha Slab 1, apparently. Change the paragraph style to Annie Use Your Telescope. And you can see this is updating all the different bits of text at the same time, so you don't have to do them individually. Now, I'm not entirely sure yet if we'll keep all this. Like, I'm wondering at the moment if we've possibly gone a bit too, basically making this a little bit too complicated. Like, I think possibly we could get away with like having a few fewer styles. But we'll let the feature testers try this. We'll see what they say, because that's that is why we do this. The vertical height of the element is fixed depending on what you've added into the form. You can make it as wide as you want, again, just like text elements work, and that will automatically adjust. You can change the input settings. So if you want to change the color of the text of the placeholders, or the actual color of the placeholders. So there's still a fair amount of flexibility available. We can just put them back to the defaults. And you have the hover styles as before. Change the color of the button. But where this, I think, really comes into its own is that it just makes the form itself a lot easier to adjust. Because this is the default version. But if you decide that, actually you want to collect a bit more information, we want the last name, we want the phone number as well. We'll open the builder, we'll add another text field. In fact, we'll add another 2. So we're going to want the phone number, and we're going to want the last name. Just add the placeholder text in there. And we'll use these arrows. These work just like the ones we saw on the product group do. So we'll move the last name, move the last name up, and let's have the phone above the email as well. And we'll hit save on that. And they're just added in. And you don't have to worry about arranging. Like it's just that much is just done for you. Turn the labels off if you want. So this is something that should make it an awful lot easier in like putting forms on the page. Like I say, this is a very early beta at the moment. It's just got the text fields. It just does submit for submits. But we will be adding different field types. We will be adding checkout ability. So you'll be able to do checkout forms just the same way. Also means that if we go onto the mobile page, again, that's automatically mobilized for you. Like you don't have to worry about how you don't have to do any rearranging. Joseph said, sorry to interrupt, got here late, may not be able to stay to the end. Will there be a replay? I'm hoping so, yes. We're recording it at the moment, so as long as that, as long as the recording works out, which, they do 99% of the time, then yes, there'll be a replay. It will go up in the knowledge base probably by the beginning of next week. So this form widget is part of a like a wider drive of what we're doing at the moment of trying to make building things on Convertery like that much easier. And that is something that came from the survey that we ran recently. So it's quite a good point to go on to the next section of the presentation, which is basically like what like why are we sorry, choking up there. Basically, why are we doing what we're doing now? And so let's say you might remember a little while ago, we ran this user survey. And we asked a few questions about how people were using Convertery and what we were doing well, what we were doing badly. And the results from this, I think, were a lot of these were quite interesting. So let's just switch back. So one of the questions we asked was just what are you building with Convertery? What are you trying to do with it? Are you trying to build pages? Are you trying to build entire funnels? Are you trying to build websites? And we actually found far more people than we thought are basically just building standalone landing pages. There's also about 20% of people building full sales funnels, and about 25% building websites. Some of you might notice these don't add up to 100, and that's because we also put an other box in there. So there's a lot of people who were talking about individual items. But that was quite interesting. We also asked who are you building for? Are you building for your own use? Are you building for clients? Or is it a mix? I should say mostly your own use, mostly clients, or 50-50 between the two. And about 60% of people are just building for themselves, or mostly building for themselves and just doing a little bit of client work. And 40% of people are either doing mostly for clients or about 50-50. Which again was interesting because honestly, I thought the proportions would probably be the other way around. But that's one of the reasons it's quite good for a company, I think, to ask these kind of questions. But we also were we were also asking what are we doing well, what are we doing badly, what would you do if you were us? And there was basically one overriding message that came out of it. Obviously, everyone had lots of different opinions because everyone uses Convertery in a little bit different ways. But if there was one overriding message, I think that would come out of these surveys, if you were asking me to sum up everyone's response in a single sentence, it would probably be this. It would probably be focus on what we're good at. I mean, recently we've done, certainly at the beginning of the year, we were doing a lot of work on the cart upgrades. And to be honest, like we were doing this because we thought it was what like what you wanted Convertri to be better at. We had a we know we had, I think still have a lot of people trying to like use Convertri as like an econ platform, and that wasn't really what it was designed for. And that kind of shows, I think. Like there's like it works, you can definitely get a result out of it, but there are platforms out there which are better for it. But a lot of people were trying to do it, so we wanted to try and make it better. So we did a load of cart upgrades. We added a ton of features there, and some of them I think quite useful, like adding the product variants, the sales tax support, like adding like inventory fulfillment tracking, all this stuff. Like Convertri is in a far better state for like delivering econ, particularly physical products, than it used to be. But I think this was probably like we were probably over-indexing on that a bit. I think we were focusing a bit too much on that kind of area and neglecting like our core purpose, which is basically like building pages, building funnels. And that I think is what came out of that survey quite a lot. People would like us to get back to that. And the other thing that came out is to communicate what we're doing a little bit better. Part of that is the reason for this webinar and why we're trying to do like more of these. Like I'm planning on doing another one of these at the end of next month. Again, talking about like what we've built in that month, where we're going next, just to keep everyone updated on like what is happening with the app at the moment. You may also have noticed like we're not posting the regular updates in the group as often, and we're still updating. Like we're still doing updates every Tuesday, same time. So Tuesday morning UK time, Convertri will get an update. Some new features will go in there, some new bug fixes, and that is still happening. But one of the things that came from the survey is that people found these messages a bit generic, I guess is probably the right word for it. Like they were finding they weren't paying as much attention to them because it was just like a grab bag of stuff. Like they weren't sure if it was focusing on the kind of thing they wanted. So we are trying to be a bit better about like making it easier to discover the new stuff that Convertry's got and when it's relevant to you. Which is why, like, rather than those like group updates, we are trying to do more individual ones. So when we do a feature, we'll have an individual feature post in Facebook, like Beth's doing a little video about it, a bit of a description about how it works. There's also like summary emails going out every couple of weeks. There'll be a post on the blog every month, again, just rounding up all the stuff we've done, and obviously there'll be these webinars as well. And I'm hoping that'll just keep everyone a bit more updated, because Convertri does an awful lot of stuff, and like it's not entirely surprising, like especially with the volume of updates that come out, that you miss things, like especially things that might be relevant to you. I mean, we actually found like something that came up, I think like 4 separate times in the survey, was people saying they would like to be able to weight the traffic of a split test, and you can actually do that. I mean, we released that feature at the beginning of the year. If we set up a split test on this page, so you can see we have this traffic split feature. So it won't do anything at the moment because I haven't set up a second page. But you can decide whether you want like how much of your traffic you want to go to variant A and how much you want to go to variant B. So this is in there, but people weren't realizing it was there because it just kind of got lost in the noise. And so we're just trying to make there be a bit more signal there. And I realized I've done all that without actually swapping my screen back. So you couldn't even see it because I'm an idiot. I wonder how many people were laughing at me at that point. Let's do that bit again, shall we? So if we just forget that last couple of minutes ever happened, if we set up a split test on the Manful page, and in fact, let's also learn from my mistakes. Let's claim variant A in there. There is actually a traffic split feature. Just at the bottom here, you can decide how much of your traffic you want to go to variant A, how much you want to go to variant B. and that's and that is a feature that's in there, but it got missed because, as I was saying earlier, there's just like I think there was too much noise and not enough signal. So we're trying to reverse that a bit. And I don't know if this new method will work. It's all experimental, but we'll try it and we'll see what happens, because that's how doing this works. So the things we are going to be focusing on, or what we're going to try to be focusing on going forwards, again, trying to focus on what we feel like are our core strengths and making those better. So we want to make building and updating pages easier. Part of this, let's say, is on the way already. The multi-publish, things like the Form Widget. Like we want to try and get more of these items in the more of these ready-made items available to you, so you can build your pages quicker. And I also think we can do this is still very early days. I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, but I've got this concept in my head about trying to get the best parts of a freeform and a blocky style editor and try to put them together. And this is something I'm still working out, how it can work. But I've got this idea in my head of being able to add the panels and still be able to move them freeform. I like the freeform. I definitely don't want to lose that. But still being able to take these panels, move them around wherever you want. But within those panels have more fixed grids. So you can set it to this panel has 3 columns in it. And you can drop your element in there and it just kind of snaps into that column. I feel like that will make laying out pages a bit easier. I feel like it'll make doing mobilization a bit easier because things will go in more fixed positions. And I think that kind of thing will just make the editor a bit easier to design with. Possibly we can even add in features so that if you drop an element in in a certain place, if it's connected to another element, the page kind of rearranges around it, so you don't have to rearrange the elements on your page itself. It just kind of slots in the middle. And again, I think we can do that while keeping the freeform aspect that gives you all that design flexibility. As noted, that's still very early days. This is still we don't even have designs yet. This is still all draft work in my notebook. But that is the kind of area I want to explore to try and make building these things easier. That's kind of a fundamental rework on how the editor works. There's also plenty of other features which are more well understood. So things like image cropping, image rotation. Jim, I know you probably know Jim from the Facebook group, but he's been asking for years. You say, okay, you can stick elements to the top and the bottom. How about if we could stick them to the left and right as well? And for years, I've been yeah, that sounds like an amazing idea. Let's not do it, apparently. So we should that kind of thing. I want to focus a bit more on getting into the editor to make building the pages you want to build just that much easier. And we also want to make the funnel design process easier. So this is again something we're working on at the moment. We're working on adding a new full funnel design module into Convertri. So again, this is still a very early stage development. So I'm not going to expect anything like this to end up in any state in the app for probably at least a couple of months yet. But I've got a an early sketch out to show you. This is the concept design. And so what we're imagining here is something that isn't just about laying out pages. It's something where you can also say, okay, this is where my traffic's coming in. This is where I'm having this is where I'm having an autoresponder. Then that's going to connect to a webinar, and that's going to lead into the sales page. So you can plan out your entire funnel, not just the Convertery aspects, and also set things okay, you're going to get this many clicks, and it's going to cost this much, this much per click. The product is going to cost $17 and it's going to convert at this much. And we should be able to set it up so that if you add these figures in, you can just hit the button in Convertri, and Convertri can simulate the funnel for you. So it can tell you like, okay, with all these assumptions, you're going to make this much profit, and that'll let you see, okay, so maybe I need another upsell. Maybe I should add a pre-sell page in. But beyond that, we can do, I would also like to turn this into a reporting section as well. In the, I saw 40% of Convertery users are building material for clients as well as for themselves. And so we would like to make getting those clients in easier. If you can, you're going to be able to plan this stuff in Convertery and then go to the reporting section of the app and turn your plans into a pitch that you can deliver to your clients. So you can show them here's the funnel I've designed, here's the funnel I will build for you. Here's the maths, it will make you this much money. Here's the details on the pages. And I think that's going to, I think it's going to make, if you're just building stuff for yourself, I think it's going to make your design process a lot easier. If you're building stuff for clients, it's going to make winning those clients a lot easier. And so I'm quite excited to get this into the app as well. And so that is that's everything I've got for you at the moment. So that's an update of our features. So all the new features we've added in the past month, talking about the stuff we're working on, so the Facebook conversion API, the multi-publish, the form widget, and a quick overview of what came out of that survey and what we're trying to work on next, based on what you guys have said that you want us to work on. I hope this is going to be a bit more in line with how you're using Convertery. And so, yeah, in that case, I think we are now good for the Q&A. So like I say, it can be anything on what we've just seen, any of our other future plans, or just anything Convertery related or not. I guess I'll try to answer those as well. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? Detlef saying it'd be very nice to have analytics month by month and so on. Yes, it would. That is a very good point. This is a test account, so I probably don't have any analytics worth showing. Yeah, there's a problem loading because there's nothing there, never been published. But yes, it would definitely be good to see analytics as a date range rather than basically just the last 30 days, which is what we've currently got. And in fact, you can see this is planned because we've got that little widget in there. We just need to enable it. I'm not entirely sure where that is in the list at the moment. Again, I hope it will be coming along in the next couple of months. As ever, no guarantees, but I would hope it would be there. Gregory is saying there's a bug in PayPal test mode. When is that expected to be fixed? I'm not sure about the bug that you're on about there. I'll see if I can find it in our board when the webinar's done, and see if I can find out what's going on with it. In general, it's hard to basically for any dev work. we can't really give timelines on this stuff because we don't know what's involved in fixing it. But I will have a look and see if it's like near the top of the list. Okay, do we have any further questions? Okay, I think that's looking like it. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes, just so if anyone thinks of anything, like I'll be available to answer it. But otherwise, yeah, thank you very much for coming along. I hope you saw something interesting. I hope I showed you a couple of things that you didn't realize you could do with Convertery. And I hope you're excited as I am for the new stuff as well. Like honestly, all three of those items. Like, I mean, they're not the only things we're working on at the moment, but they're certainly the biggest of the set. But all three of those are things I'm quite looking forward to having in. Like the Facebook Conversions API is obviously going to be a big win for anyone who's running like Facebook ads, and the multi-publish and the Form Widget. I'm just sure they're definitely going to make my life an awful lot easier. So I hope they're going to make your life an awful lot easier as well. Okay, yeah, that looks like it. Okay, so again, thank you very much for coming. Let's say this is being recorded. There will be a replay. 99% there will be a replay. That will go up in the knowledge base early next week, and we'll send out a link with the next update. So thanks very much for coming, guys, and I will hopefully see you next month.